Hi, welcome back to another week of Unpacking Life. This week, I have a super amazing guest. I actually found her on Instagram and I've followed her content for a while now. I really love everything that she brings to the table, especially when it comes to diastasis recti. And I know a lot of you probably don't know what this is. For me, this was like an episode that I had to pick the right experts to talk about because it's something that I actually suffered for a lot of years. And so I'm so excited today. I have Becky Choi on the podcast with me. Becky, welcome to Unpacking Life.
Thank you so much for having me, Anne.
Thank you. I'm so glad I was able to get you on. But before we dive into today's conversation, can you go ahead and give my audience an idea of who you are, what you do, so they kind of get a feel for who we're talking with today?
Yeah, so my name is Becky Choi. I am the founder and the CEO of my company, the Tummy Warrior Postnatal Fitness. And I basically help moms, especially newer moms who suffer from abdominal separation or diastasis recti, to get fit and get strong and empower them to have the inner and outer core strength that they need. Sometimes it's not just about the aesthetic, it's about that strength that comes with it, internally being strong, and then you're able to bring to your best game in all aspects of your life. So that's what I'm here, that's what I do, and I coach my clients to they're on their postpartum journey.
Awesome. I really love that. And in fact, like when I found your content, I was just like, man, I wish that something like this was available when I was going through my own personal journey with diastasis. But I think before we dive into anything, do you want to go ahead and give definition of what diastasis recti is? Because I know there's a lot of women out there that have absolutely no clue what that is.
No idea.
Yeah.
Right? I know. I wish somebody would have told me that too when I had my first baby in 2016.
Oh gosh.
And I just thought that belly, that bulging of the belly might be just mom pooch or like belly fat that everybody call it, right? Oh, that's how you're supposed to be after baby. Because you never heard of that term, even during pregnancy for 9 months. And you go see your midwife or OB every now and then. They don't talk about
No, but
the postpartum
I had no
body.
idea.
All they talk about is the baby and like how is she doing or how is he doing in the tummy. So it's like you would never know, or like you just wouldn't have no clue that this even
Exactly.
exists, right? So what diastasis recti is actually really common for any moms who go through a full-term pregnancy, because you can see that your belly and your stretching muscles, the muscles are stretched to accommodate the growing baby as your uterus stretches. So at one point, and usually by around 36 to 40 weeks, where your belly is just like a watermelon, and that's healthy, right? You need to have that in order to have a healthy baby weight. But that muscles would stretch to accommodate them. And some moms, after giving birth, within 3 months, that belly, that muscles will go back into its original shape.
Right.
So for some audience, if anybody is watching, right, your belly, your muscles stretch to accommodate a growing baby, and some would just go back in its place. That's called the spontaneously healing. But for other moms like myself, those muscles are just stretched and thinned, and they never went back to its place. So making you look like always like 4 or 5 months pregnant, even though you have given birth months or sometimes years postpartum, you still have that shape. So it is more common than we think. It's actually affecting 60% of women, postnatal women, even at 3 months postpartum. But for most of us, we just think, oh, it's an extra weight, or like that's how it's supposed to be, right? So we never really realized that until we really dig into it or ask the doctor what's going on.
Exactly. And I think that was also what happened to me. I mean, I was always like a really smallish person, and all my kids I had by C-section. So I have 4 kids, and all of them were C-sections. And I think right around when I had my first daughter, I didn't notice it as much because the weight didn't really, I was still a little bit small after the baby, but I just had, like you said, that pooch that was just sitting there that would not go anywhere. And it's kind of embarrassing because, like you said, you actually do look like you're pregnant. There would be times when, people would say to me like, are you pregnant? Or even when I'm out and about, oh, congratulations. And then I'm like, oh, the baby's here. And then I remember I was shopping for a car seat for my daughter. And this was not even, I think she was transitioning 2 years old now, into her big girl car seat.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady said to me at the store when I was
Mm,
shopping, "Oh, congratulations on your
mm,
pregnancy." And I said, "No, I'm actually shopping for the baby's car seat. I already had the baby." And she felt so embarrassed, said, "Oh my gosh, oh, the baby's a few months old." And I'm like, "No, actually, she's like 2 years old." And she just kept apologizing to me, like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "It's okay."
uh-huh,
So I
uh-huh,
went through that and I had it. And I think for me, mine was almost like 8 centimeters. It was almost like, for those who are watching the video, like
mm-hmm,
waist, the side of my waist to the side of my waist. So it was really blasted out. And
mm,
I had to have surgery to fix mine. So I had to have an abdominoplasty or tummy
I
tuck
see.
to fix mine, because I
Mm-hmm,
had other complications going on with mine. I was starting to have back aches.
mm-hmm,
I was nauseous all the time. And
mm-hmm.
then I had an umbilical
Yeah,
hernia, so that wasn't even helping because I had no
yeah,
muscles to help with my umbilical hernia.
okay.
So it was just a whole mess. I was
Mm-hmm.
nauseous at night, and I had to have surgery to fix mine because of how bad my I looked like I was 6 months pregnant. Like, if you saw my picture the day I had surgery, you would think I was in the hospital to give birth to a baby, but I was at the hospital to get my stomach fixed. And so that, for me, I know how it affected my self-esteem for so many years. It was just really, really bad. But again, there's just so many things that I didn't know about. And I wish I had those resources, or even having, like, your page, a resource like yours to look at and even understand what was happening to me. I didn't know anything until I actually went through the process. So, what would you say are the symptoms? Because just like you kind of briefly said, a lot of people think it's mommy pooch. So how do they differentiate between a mommy pooch and actually diastasis? What would they need to? Because I know it's something that you can even do at home first before you actually see a
Yeah.
professional.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll let you let them know because you're the expert on this.
Yeah, yeah. So you can definitely do a self check at home. It's actually really
Mm-hmm.
simple. But before I describe how you can do a self check at home, even if you're looking at yourself aesthetically, it could be the
Mm-hmm.
bulging, but that doesn't always mean it's a diastasis recti. It really could be just belly
Mm-hmm.
fat, or like you gain a few extra weight. Maybe you're on the overweight or even obese scale, so that could be a bunch of belly fat around the waist. But other issue that commonly associate with diastasis recti, it could be back pain. So back pain, because your belly is always constantly in
Mm-hmm.
the front, and your back has to work overtime to pull you upright when you're standing, pull you upright when you're sitting. So it's always doing a lot of work for you throughout the day. So back pain is very common, and also having an umbilical
Mm-hmm.
hernia, like you were saying, and earlier, it's actually really common
Yes.
too, because what happens is when you're stretched out, when the abdominal muscles are just so weak and thin, there is a chance that the intestine or the organs
Yes.
inside, right, in your belly area, kind of just protrude out and be able to find a hole to poke
Mm-hmm.
through. Because throughout movements day to day, we use
Mm-hmm.
our body, and the waist is the center of
Right.
everything. And if there is a point where your muscle just cannot hold the organs inside, it the intestine or the organs inside would be able to break it through. I don't want to sound it very scary, but that's why you get a hernia.
Yeah.
And so the hernia would poke through, and it could get worse over time if you don't do
And that
anything
was
about it.
also what
It could be
that was
asymptomatic.
part of the risk that made my doctors to want to have the surgery with me, because they said that I ran the risk of my intestines entrapping me, and that could potentially be like
Yes.
life threatening. So as scared as I was of potentially having surgery, there was really no way out for me, because that was how bad mine had progressed. And I know before I left the hospital, they would give me tips like, like, even it I like, this sounds very graphic and bad, but like, even like your bowel movements could potentially
Mm,
go into the area where like your umbilical, like your belly button is. So they would tell me things like, "Oh,
mm,
if you felt something hard there, kind of lie back flat and press,
mm.
like, put your hands and just kind of
Uh-huh.
push it back in, and then call your doctor." So
I
those were
see.
like, that was like, in
Oh,
my case, it was pretty bad. So
yeah, yeah, yes, yeah, it is. It is like a wake up call for anybody who's listening to this too. Like, if don't just think that it just oh, okay, maybe just my muscles being weak, but it's actually could be a lot more
Exactly.
than that. And you really wanted to talk to your
Yes.
doctor and really have a thorough assessment on what's really going
Right.
on. And going back to other symptom besides a hernia and back pain, it could be pelvic floor
Mm-hmm.
pressure. So it could be pelvic floor weakness where it is incontinence, or just being feeling heavy down there. It could be because that you're not able to use your core the way it should. Then you, when you're moving around, there's just we have abdominal pressure inside our core already, and that pressure couldn't distribute
Mm-hmm.
evenly. It will always be having a lot of pressure going down, especially maybe when you're doing exercises or like running and about after your kids and you're feeling heavy down there. It's a sign of that the pressure are not distribute evenly, and because of the diastasis, could be because of the diastasis
Exactly.
recti. Now we really wanted to confirm and check to see what and how you can self check. It's actually really simple that you can do it right now. Even listening to us on this podcast episode, just lie on the
Mm-hmm.
floor and do a mini crunch. So like you bend your feet, lie flat on your back on the floor, and you lift your head up. You wanted to put your fingers, first of all, on the belly button. Let's say your fingertips is pointing downward. So I don't know if anybody's watching this. And you'll be pointing it downward, right? Pretending this is my belly button. I'm pointing it downward, and then so you could be feeling that two fingers gap because you're going to feel the muscles hugging your
Mm-hmm.
fingers. Or you can be feeling three fingers or four fingers. And for some of us, like
Mm-hmm.
Anne, I'm sure it was more like a five fingers
Right.
to her. And for me as well, actually, when I knew I had diastasis recti, I actually could almost fit all my
Yes.
fingers, 4.5 fingers into the belly buttons area for myself as well. So we knew. So now that we know that there's a gap there, now what's more important beside a gap, right? A lot of people talk about fingers gap, but what you really wanted to know also is actually how deep are you able to sink in that finger into
Oh
that
wow, I
gap.
didn't know that.
Now,
Mm.
because I know it sounds pretty
Mm-hmm.
freaky, like to sink the finger into the gap, but you definitely could if there's a gap. And for some people, it could just be like a nail deep, and for other, it could be a knuckle, two knuckles, and also like a whole finger that could go inside the
Mm.
belly. Is you're not pressing it, but it actually just sinks in. And some people could be a three knuckles. And for me, myself personally, it was two
Oh
knuckles deep.
wow.
So it yes, so it tells me that there's no tensions if you have like two knuckles or even three the whole fingers going into the belly. Like this, like some people would say like, oh, it disappear as soon as you put the
Mm.
finger in. That's telling me that there's no tensions there. And when there's no tensions there, it's a
Oh
weak
wow.
core.
Wow. So that's really good to know because I didn't even know that. I knew the finger test and I knew to put my fingers in. And then
Mm-hmm.
depending on how many, I knew how wide or how many centimeters apart my muscles were blasted. But I had no idea that, I could even do the test to see how deep it went. So that's
Yeah.
good information to also know. I guess the next thing that I want to also inform people that I didn't know about is when that happened to me for like a while, I was at the gym heavy because I'm like, I'm going to lose
Mm.
this stomach. Like it's gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
go.
Yeah.
And it was not until I
Yes.
started doing my research, and of course, when I by this time I know I have diastasis, that I realized that the crunches and the hardcore workouts and all the things I was doing was wrong. So the way you would work out normally, yes, to get your muscles together, tone your abdominal muscles. For diastasis, it's a different process, correct? So you
Correct.
could be doing yourself more harm than good. And I think that also played a part in how bad I hurt myself in the process. Things like my sit-ups
Mm.
and my crunches or, all the
Mhm.
things that I was doing. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because I think a lot of people, you have that mommy pooch, you already think it is. And the first thing you want to do is go and work out. But there's things that you need to do differently when it comes to diastasis.
Yeah, I could certainly speak to that a lot because of my own personal
Mm-hmm.
experience. Because after the first baby, as I was telling the audience here that I had no idea that I had
Mm-hmm.
it, and thinking, okay, because I gained about 30 pounds, now I just need to lose it and I should be back to
Right.
normal. So I just started doing an at home workouts, following some stuff online, and it was everything. It was like HIIT workout, cardio, crunches, plank, like everything you name it, like it's there. Weights, exercises, and then even after a few months postpartum, after I did the program for a few months, I lost a bit of weight, 20 pounds, and but then that belly was still there. It was not going away, and that's then when I realized that there is more to that than just fat. Like there was more to my
Yeah.
belly, and what also concerned me was that whenever I tried to do a plank or crunches, it would make this really weird pointy coning
Mm-hmm.
shape, like if as if there was something coming out of my belly buttons area. It was just so weird. And also like when I was like getting on and out of the bed
Mm-hmm.
or out of the couch, if I was leaning back and I was trying to come up, it was just feeling like as if I didn't couldn't use my core to do it
Mm-hmm.
properly. It was always make this like pointy kind of shape. So I knew that there was something was wrong. And it was not until a lot later where I actually study about this and use myself as a guinea pig and learn more about diastasis and study from experts around the world that then I realized, okay, what I had been doing just wasn't good for my
Yeah.
core. And yes, it could probably had been damaging or widening my core or just made it even
Mm-hmm.
thinner because of the exercise, the movement that I did, that my body was not able to control it properly and using the muscles to control it properly. So like I could probably had made it worse. I mean, it's not a fact, but because I
Yes.
didn't know at that time. And but now that I think back, using my own two pregnancy that I had, I think back, it definitely had made my diastasis to a point where even now at this point when I really wanted to have a six-pack abs for myself or even like just really flat
Yeah.
stomach, it's just to a point that it's impossible now
Mm.
because of just so many things that I've done in the past that, for 3 months consistently that I did continuously, like pushing my core to the limits that I just could not
Mm-hmm.
handle. And I still did it. It was just on the side. Now I think back, it's just like so naive of me. I should have really paid more attention to my
Right.
body. But at the same time, when you just don't know as a new mom, you have so many other things that you'd have to juggle. Like the last thing you wanted to look at is like, okay, what's going on
Exactly.
here at the belly button? Because all your attentions go to your
Exactly.
babies and like making sure she is fed and diapers clean and the house is okay, like, right? So what I wanted to say though, like I know we talked about that it would worsen the
Mm-hmm.
diastasis. I wanted to let our audience know that you don't have to be afraid of like doing certain thing, even if it's crunch or plank. However, what made it worse is you continuously doing it without the proper form,
Hmm.
without the muscles being able to contract properly, to engage properly, and you still do it for a continuous amount of time and days, and that's where it would make it worse. It's not gonna just happen made it worse if you just do a crunch today and like if you just forgot that you need to roll around to the side and get up,
Yes.
for example. Like it's not gonna make it worse like that. I feel that there's just a lot of fearful informations out there saying, oh, you should not be doing this, you should not be doing that, la 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 la, and then it makes people feel so much more fear in their minds, like, oh god, now what am
Right.
I going to do, right? I can't do this, I can't do that. It's not that you can't, but you might have to do it progressively to get there, and you want to do it with good form, good alignment, good posture, breathing techniques and all of that so that you could get
Mm-hmm.
there. But just one crunch, even if you do it wrong, just one plank, even if you do it wrong, it's not going to make
And I
it
think
worse.
that's so
It's the
great.
pressure
That's
that's
amazing
where
that you said that because, in this day and age where we have Google and, the internet and people are on social media, there's just a lot of information out there that, as much as it's good for us to have that information, I still feel like that's where people run the danger of replacing experts with just, self-diagnosing and looking at stuff that they see on the internet and all that information. That's why it's great to have experts like yourself talk about these things and let them know, because even I was like, sit-ups is a no-no. And if I had done this episode by myself without talking to an expert, I could be misleading somebody on the right path or the right direction. So that's great that you're telling them that it's about the form that they take in doing these workouts. So it's not running away from the workout, but it's how are they doing the workout? What is the form
Yes.
that they're doing? And then you're also talking about, I guess, the intensity of what they're doing and the frequency of what they're doing also, if that's what I gathered from
Yes.
that.
Oh yeah, you summarize it right. It's not about the what, it's about the
Yes.
how, for sure, how you execute
And
the
can you speak to
exercise.
them also about, because I know you referenced this a little bit, and this was also something that I learned, is that with diastasis, the way I get up out of my chair or the way I get out of bed in the morning makes a difference in potentially hurting my diastasis or hurting my abdominal muscles. So with diastasis, for instance, I can't just jump up out of bed. So for me, from what I learned, and if I'm wrong, correct me. But what I would do is literally curl my legs up or cuddle up and then turn to my side and kind of roll up, stand up like almost like vertebrae by vertebrae versus just like jumping up all at once. So what is the perfect form
Yeah.
that they need to get up out of a chair or get up out of bed in the morning?
Yeah, yeah, good questions. So maybe we can talk about why it is
Okay.
like that. So let's say if you lie on the bed and if you just get up like you get like you would normally do, like get out of the bed like you without rolling onto the
Mm-hmm.
side, you are literally doing a sit up there,
Yes.
right? You're doing a little, literally doing a sit up there, like you just yank yourself or like use your core. It's a lot of work that your core needs to do. When you have diastasis, your core is just not quite as there yet. It's not as strong to do the movement for you. So all of a sudden, you're getting out of the bed doing the sit up motion. That's why you're seeing yourself coning or bulging out where there isn't enough strength to uphold you like that. And that's why we tell clients, or you get lots of informations online where it will tell you to roll
Mm-hmm.
around to the
Mm-hmm.
side, use your arm to get yourself up so that you can actually help your core to
To
get
give you
yourself
support.
up. This is similar as if you were, yeah, lying on the couch, you're leaning back, you're watching the TV, and then you have to get out. Like, so instead of like just coming like leaning forward to get out, because now you're leaning back, you have to actually use your core muscles to help you to get up. So that's why also if you're not there where you have the core strength yet, you will see the doming and bulging
Mm-hmm.
out, and that's why we wanted to learn lean to the side and get up. The thing with this is that um, you will get
Yes.
better as you exercises, as you get
Mm-hmm.
stronger. It's not forever that you have to get up and get off the bed or floor this
Mm-hmm.
way, but because we don't want it to continuously put strain on the belly where you want it to heal the most, right? You wanted the gap to come
Exactly.
closer. You want to have more tensions on the core. You don't want it to continuously to put pressure there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every day, let's think about how many times you have to get out and up like that on the bed or on the couch like that. So if you're continuously to put pressure like that, so similar to what I was saying earlier, I was doing crunches and planks and all the HIIT workouts, cardios ongoingly every day for a few months. This is gonna, yeah, I mean, it could be potentially could worsen it because you kind of unintentionally do that movement ongoingly. However, though, when you're exercising and as you get stronger, these kind of day-to-day movement can become part of your daily routine, can become part of your daily exercises. So anything could be a core exercises, which is really
Right.
beautiful once you learn some of the foundations and as you get stronger. So, but this is more pertaining to like rolling around and getting off. It's like more the beginners who are just don't have the
Exactly.
strength
So as they're
for
getting
it.
stronger, clearly this is they're going to get stronger, and then they can figure themselves out. Now, what I have a question. Do you think diet plays a part in diastasis? Is there anything we need to be looking out for as
100%.
far as diet when it comes to diastasis?
Yeah, 100%. Diet is such an important component in my program, especially for not just for new moms like trying to lose weight, but also for even moms who doesn't have weight to lose and they have the
Right.
diastasis belly. Diet plays a major role. And I use a bloat reducing strategy method in my program, the Tummy Warrior coaching program. And then because postnatally, after we given birth, we lack some of the enzyme to digest some of the food, especially plants, vegetables. So it takes our body extra hard to digest some of the food, and we aren't able to absorb the nutrients like we used to before baby, because after baby our hormones are all everywhere and we just
Yeah, we're
lack
just
something.
depleted.
And if we continuously and if we continuously to eat food that are just very hard to digest and just very hard for our body to function and do a lot of work, like even beans, unsoaked oats, those kind of things that we normally eat, or gluten, like it's very hard for our body to digest and do the work, and makes us very bloated through the process. So when we upload it, and imagine you already have a weak tummy, there's not much muscles to hold on to those intestine in
Right.
place. When you're so bloated, all those pressure and the expanded intestine. I mean, I kept talking about it. I know it sounds kind of graphic,
Yeah.
but like it would expand, and then like it would pushes the tummy out even more. And imagine like if you're thinking looking at your body, the side of your obliques are tight, like because it has to be there on the side to hold on to everything. Your belly bulging is in the front. Your back is tight because, as I was saying, your back always have to constantly
Yeah.
do overwork. So the side is tight, the back is tight. There's only room in the front. So when you're eating food that making you more bloated and you're more gassy and it's more inflammatory for you and more sensitive for you, it can only go even further out. Your belly can only go further out. So if it's already out, it will go even
Yeah.
more out because there's no room to go to the side or go to the back. Yeah, and then like so more pressure could be going down, and that's why it could be leading to some
Right.
leaking,
Right.
incontinence. So bloating is a big part. Yeah, and also a majority of us mostly have some body fat, belly fat. So having that diet would be really important to get rid of some fat, and so then you can look trimmer as well. It will also help you with exercises when you don't feel so much puffiness and when you don't feel so much stuff, like so much pressure in the front of the belly.
And also, definitely staying hydrated through the process also helps them throughout the day. So making sure that they're keeping that water intake, through the day would help. Now, what do you say to people
Yes.
who are just going through diastasis or they've had it for years? So like somebody that's had it, like mine was caught like on my third pregnancy, right? After I had my third baby. So you're talking about, I don't know, 7 years in or something like that. Is it ever too late to fix diastasis? Or, is there hope for somebody who says, well, I'm not just postpartum right now. I'm not a new postpartum mom. I've kind of sat with this for a long time. Is there hope for people who have had diastasis for a long time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get that asked all the time in my DM on Instagram. So it's never
Yes.
too late. It's never too late. It's the muscles is always there working for you. I mean, it's there. The muscle is
Right.
there. It's just waiting for you to use it. It's similar to as if you're thinking about building bicep muscles, right? If you look at your bicep muscles right now, it could be flabby, like because you never worked on it. It's like it's kind of loose. It's like there's jiggly on it. But as you lift weights, as you're eating healthier, that muscles
Yes.
will build, regardless of how old you are, right? Even if you're 50, 60 years old, I'm sure if you go online and find, you will see people who are building muscles at that age. So it's not about how long after postpartum that you are, that it would not heal, but more about that the later you do anything, it will take longer.
Yes, of course.
It will take longer as you're aging. Yes, it will, like your body's metabolism slow down, and it will just take longer for you to build muscles, and the core is it's all about muscles and collagen, and we lose some of those collagen as we age too. That's why we are starting to get wrinkle,
Yes,
and like we have we have yeah, like around the eyes and like the hair and all that, like, so we lose that as we age. So it's not that it won't heal, it'll probably take longer, but it will still definitely do great work for you, for your core. You know, the core is the center of the
yes,
body. You still wanted to work on it. If you've never done anything, that's even more important for you to work on it. So as you go into the later stage, right? Maybe you're 40 and you gave birth 10 years ago when you were 30, and as you go 50 and 60, like, think about that. Like, it could really only go downhill, like, worse as you age, right?
exactly.
So I would definitely say it's never too late. It's always good to be healthy, to get
And I want
started.
to say, like, the one thing that I know that really attracted me to your technique or your program, and what I saw that you were doing is, I like the fact that you say you're helping women to heal diastasis without surgery. And I always, even when I had to go to the doctors, if my case wasn't as severe as it was, that's ideally what even the doctors would tell you is they love to see you try first, because the surgery is a major surgery. So I think that's one thing that people need to
Yes.
understand is it's a very major surgery, and it could be a dangerous surgery if, God forbid, things don't go right. So what
Yes.
what kind of tips would you say is great? I mean, clearly we would also want to refer, like, at the end of this, I would love to refer people and say, hey, reach out to Becky, to potentially, if you have this problem and you need further assistance, and maybe look into her program. But what are some of the tips, without giving too much of that away, that they can do? Because if you can avoid surgery, I always say that's the best way to go. So if you've had diastasis and you've dealt with it for quite a while, and you don't have a situation like mine where your intestines are at risk of entrapping you, or, something that could be life threatening, and you have that opportunity to be able to fix your diastasis, what would you say to them? Because I always think that that would be the first way to address the situation, is to do it with. I know people want to have the snatch. People think that this is, I mean, is this, some people do the surgery for cosmetic reasons, but in my case, it was medical, and I was terrified up until the minute I walked in. I was asking the doctors, like, what is your guarantee to
Yeah.
me? And I remember the surgeon saying to me, he said, look, if we get to the hospital on that day, we're halfway there. That was the only, nobody could give me any guarantees. And I was nervous and I was scared. And, I felt
Yeah.
like, man, if I can run out of this place, I'll run out of this place. So how can you help women, to be able to know that, hey, this thing can be done. And if you can do it without surgery, no matter how long it takes you, slow and steady winning the pace, what would you say to those kind of people?
Wow, man, I can't imagine what you had to go through as you step inside that
I was
surgery
scared.
room. Because I mean, as we can all imagine, you are a mom of four
Yes.
kids, and even if it's just one child, you are a mother
Yes.
now, and like just being able to go, like having to go into that room and thinking, what if, right?
Yes.
It's such a
It's
scary
very, very
feeling.
scary, because my third daughter was, let me see, I had the surgery about April 2019. So my third child was probably about 5 months old at the time. She was still little. And we'll get to that, because I actually got pregnant after the surgery. So that was a whole other thing.
Oh yes, I was gonna ask. I thought
So
you,
I had
yeah.
the surgery after my third baby, but then about 6, 7 months later, I got pregnant with my fourth child. Then I had to call the doctor, because now I was scared. Like, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my stomach and all of that stuff? But I found that I recovered quicker. Like 10 days after baby, my stomach was zip. It was back. Like, it was back like nothing ever happened. But that scared me. So having a pregnancy after a tummy
Yes.
tuck, I was on YouTube, but there was really no information out there for me, to see about that situation. So I actually put out a video on YouTube for other people who were searching for tummy tucks, pregnancies after a tummy tuck, because I couldn't find any information for that. But yeah, I cut you off on what you were trying to say.
No, wow. I wanted to learn more about what happened after
Yeah.
that. Like that's very, very interesting
Very
for me.
terrifying.
We will talk
Yes,
more about that for
yes.
sure. But I wanted to ask a question before I move on to the exercises and stuff. Like, did you feel that after
Hmm.
your surgery, did you feel that, and like, I know aesthetically you probably
Hmm.
look a lot better, but internally, how did you feel? Like internally,
So my
with your
core definitely
core.
felt stronger. I noticed that once I was able to work out, when I was able to start to do lighter exercises, and even because the trauma of having diastasis for like over 7 years or 8 years, however long it was, the trauma from that, what that did for me is even after my surgery, I was still doing low impact workouts. So I was still working out like I had
Yeah,
diastasis, being very careful with my core. But I noticed that my
good.
muscles would, if I even as much as just do a little bit of a workout, you can feel the muscles. They're right there. Like if I tuck in my stomach now and I touch, like the muscles are there. So I found out that working out was easier. It almost felt like when I was younger without kids, my stomach muscles would just come back. So it feels like if I'm somebody who is really obsessed with the gym, I could have a six pack. But the only downside from the surgery,
Yes.
obviously, is they tell you, like, you could be numb for months. So that was something I experienced.
Okay.
You could be numb. They say it could be anywhere from 6 to 9 months. I find that, like on the very inside, this is the best description I can give. If my stomach is itching, you know how like you itch if you just want to scratch? I could be feeling itchy,
Yeah,
but if
yeah,
I
yeah.
scratch on the outside, it doesn't do anything. So sometimes I'm sitting in my chair doing like a very funny wiggle, just hoping that if I wiggle, it would itch on the inside or something. So I still have like those like really weird sensations, or like maybe when I was pregnant with my last baby, when I was in labor, when we got to the hospital and they look at the monitor, they'll ask me like, can you feel this contraction? Because the contractions that I would tell them I'm feeling, but they're seeing other contractions on the monitor, but I wasn't feeling those ones. So it's that again could be very dangerous because, obviously my surgery was still kind of fresh, maybe about a year at that
Yes.
time and things like
Yeah,
that. So, you
yeah.
know, again, those are like the little kinks to it. I think my stomach is coming back now to a point where on the outside, definitely I have feeling, but maybe on the deeper inner
Yeah.
layers, maybe not quite as much as it was before. But as far as like muscle memory, for sure, my stomach muscles are definitely well engaged and as long as if I'm doing my
Yeah.
workouts, like I can't even boast to be really somebody that works out like I should. I haven't even really worked out in a while, but my stomach is
Yeah.
great. But then again, just to put it out there,
Yeah.
I'm really into like my holistic lifestyle, my diet, what I eat. I'm not on a diet, but I eat clean. So anybody that knows me will tell you I eat really clean. I don't really do junk food or
Yeah.
things like that. But I'm all in all, I'm better.
Good, good. Yeah. And the reason why I ask you that questions is because even after surgery, and a lot of the people think, okay, they do a tummy tuck and that's it, and they look great. But you actually have to
So you have
exercise
to
to make
you
everything
have to
stronger.
exercise, you have to be very careful with what you're eating. And so that's what I tell people too, even with my practice and coaching my clients. And because a lot of people see me and when you tell the story, some people don't want to say, oh, I had this surgery done. For me, there's nothing I don't have a problem sharing my story. But what I tell people is on that day, after my surgery, I weighed 174 pounds. So it's not a weight loss surgery. I think that's one thing people think, oh, I have a tummy tuck and let me get my,
That's a good
yes,
misconception,
exactly.
right?
I'm snatched and I'm good to go. No, I was still on the big side. I was still big. I was still, thick and everything. But I think what the surgery did for me was it gave me confidence back because now I could kind of look down at my foot. I could see my feet again. It wasn't like my
Yeah.
stomach was covering. I could put on my pants and, my waistline was not rolling over because my stomach was just folding over and things like that. So the fact that my stomach was flat, I was like, okay, now I can start to take care of myself again. All of a sudden, now I want to dress up. I don't
Yeah.
want to be sitting at home like before. Honestly, I stopped dressing up. And so people that knew me before, going from somebody who really liked to dress up And then I just became this person where I was just comfortable at home, just with a pair of my husband's boxers and a t-shirt, and I was fine. If I go outside, maybe I'll make a little effort, but not too much. And so people that kind of met me in those years who didn't know me from my past, it was like, oh wow, I'm sure they probably thought like, when I try to give people fashion advice, they look at me like, what does she have to say about? Because they didn't know me before, right?
Yeah.
But after that
Yeah.
surgery,
Right.
I always tell people the surgery was not what got me my weight loss. The surgery, what it did for me was it gave me
Yeah.
confidence to know that I could now take care of myself again. And then, I now started paying attention properly to what I was eating, what I was doing with my health. I was more intentional with that.
Yeah.
So that's where I started seeing results. And it did not happen overnight, where it's like 3 years now since that surgery, 2019 up until now. So it's been almost 3 years. But it was a
Yeah.
slow
So
process.
almost like as if,
Go ahead.
yeah, almost like as if it gives you back to your starting
Yes,
point, and then you can go from scratch from there to heal,
exactly.
to to actually do the core exercises
Exactly.
again and to do it properly this
Yes.
time. Now to eat better, now to lose weight. So it's like it helps you back, bring you back to that starting
Exactly.
point
So that was
after
that
the
was
surgery.
my starting point, and then from there, I just kind of like, I think I probably came down. I probably lost maybe like 15 pounds or something like that. So even when I had just gotten pregnant with my daughter, I was now at like maybe 152 pounds thereabout. I was like, so but the weight had
Yeah.
fallen off slowly over a period of like a year. And then just being intentional with my pregnancy and what I was doing, I think I would say I probably got up to 160 pounds in that pregnancy. So I didn't even really gain anything but baby weight. So probably like 10, 15 pounds in
Yeah.
that pregnancy, and it was all baby weight. So that was why the reason why when I had the baby and she came out, when you deduct her weight and deduct all the water weight, I was kind of like back to my pre-pregnancy weight quicker. But that was because at this time I was more intentional. I wasn't out there just eating anyhow and things like that. I was really taking care of myself, because I think also with pregnancy, we think, oh, eating for two. So like on like a 1,500, 2,000 calories, people are eating like 3,000, 4,000 a day, when all you need to really add is like an extra maybe 300 calories to your diet, right? That's all the baby
Yes.
needs.
Yes.
And it took me a long time to know
Yes.
that. So when people say, oh, I'm eating for two, you're eating for just this little baby. Remember, when you have the baby can only but have a pea size of food anyways, until their stomach slowly expands and they start to grow. So eating double portions for this tiny little baby, I think that was another thing that helped me in this pregnancy, was like, I knew better. Like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to go crazy on all the things I was doing. And so, sugar, sodas, junk food, all I was just eating regular, just adding just enough for my baby to be healthy. And so that helped me a
Yes.
lot. And 3 years later, I've kept the weight down. So I'm actually way smaller than I was, but I'm
Good for
healthier,
you.
which is the key.
Yes. And I love this discussion with you in terms of the surgery, post surgery,
Yes.
and before surgery, whether to consider surgery or consider an exercise. I think it really depending on what your
Yes.
goals are, what healing diastasis recti means to somebody, because it could be a different definitions for everybody. Some When I say healing diastasis recti, it might means that, oh, I had a four finger gaps, I wanted to make it to one finger gap or close it. But what does it really mean to you, right? Finger gap doesn't
Right.
mean anything. But like, is it because is it because you wanted to have a flat belly like how you were before pregnancy? Is that the goal? Is that the only goal? Or is it because you wanted to get rid of the back pain? You wanted to use your core
Yes.
like you could
Yes.
again. You wanted to be functional. You wanted to reduce leaking or get rid of the leaking. I mean, leaking shouldn't be normal at
Mm-mm.
all. Like nobody should be putting a pad at 30 years old. Like it's
It's not
not just
normal.
not it's not nice. And or is it because you just wanted to have a healthier, more active lifestyle, having more energy, being more active, and of course, getting a flatter belly would be a really good, but it's not that the only goal. So I like the audience to think about what they're really major
Yes.
goals are. Is it mainly you wanted to heal this DR, perhaps maybe you have a three finger gap, and your only goal is to uh, have a flat tummy, have a really good, maybe even six pack gaps, but maybe you don't have other symptom to begin with, like a back pain or core weakness and stuff like that, or sorry, back pain or pelvic floor weakness. And if that's the case, so then the moms who are listening, like, what kind of exercises have you done in the
Right.
past? Like, have you done any exercise, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, so if somebody maybe who are always lifting weights, who are always at the gym, who are always really on the go, but that belly is not going away, it could be an issue with not having a
Mm-hmm.
foundation, not knowing how to engage the core properly, not knowing how to breathe and use the core muscles the way
Yes.
it should. Because when you have the strength to do lifting weights and do, if do body weight trainings and dance, you use a lot of your core. And if you feeling like that you are able to do those, but the belly bulging is not going away and you are at your ideal weight, that which is really important because there's body fat there, but you're at your ideal weight and you're like, this belly is really
Mm-hmm.
bothering me because of the
Mm-hmm.
appearance. Like, I would say, okay, maybe after trying some more, like, like tone down a bit, go back to some
Mm-hmm.
foundation, let's work on that. And if that still doesn't work, then, if aesthetic is such an important thing, and then I appreciate that. No, but I mean, everybody wants to look great.
Yeah.
I want to look great when I'm in
Yeah.
bikini. Come
We
on,
all do.
everybody do. No, no, no. I'm not saying that's a wrong thing or good thing. I'm just saying there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with it. Like, then at that time, yeah, surgery could be
Mm-hmm.
an option, right? To get that tummy tuck, give you that confidence so you can excel. But other people might be thinking, oh, if I can just heal my
Yes.
core, I would have a flat belly. And like, but then they don't know they actually have 30 pounds they need to
Yes.
lose. They don't know because they need to actually build
Yes.
muscles, right? It's not just about closing the gap and then you have a fat belly. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work that way. We still need to tone up the body and do all of that stuff. And then for other people who might be more a functional problem, the weakness, the back, the just energy wise, and then, right, we need to work on one step at a time to get you back up, because the core relates to a lot of it's from a head to
Yes.
toe
It
issue.
is.
It's actually not just the core we work on in my
Mm.
program. We work on your posture, like how you're breathing, like even your chest, your shoulder strength, your foot strength, your leg, like, it's a
Yes.
functional thing with the
I'm so glad
diastasis.
you said
So
that.
we
I'm so
work on
glad you
the
said posture because I knew that that's another thing that plays into diastasis also is your posture.
so important. And then so we work on those one step at a time to get you back up and running to be more functional. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, what are really your
Mm-hmm.
goals? Right? You take a look at your condition or situations. Is it like, and you experience back pain, you have a
Yes.
hernia here, and then like, maybe some people who have leaking
Yes.
issues, like what is that goal? Or is it like, okay, you know what, I'm fine, I feel great, it's just that the belly is really bothering me and you've been doing exercises, it's not going away. Yeah, then surgery is fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've tried
Yes.
everything and it still bother you the way you don't feel like it,
Mm-hmm.
sure. But I would say that, after listening to what we were saying earlier, like, it's just so scary to be thinking about what
Yes.
if in that surgery
Exactly.
room, right? I don't think any moms wants to go through that.
Exactly.
And if you can, why not give exercise a
Yes.
go? Because, like, and you still have to exercise after the
Exactly.
surgery. It's before or after,
You
like, you
still have
still
to
have
take
to
care of
do it.
yourself.
So if it's the
Yes, the
surgery,
surgery is correcting,
yes,
putting the muscles back together. But what are you doing to keep the muscles together? So it's one thing to correct the muscles, but what
yes,
are you doing to make sure that it stays the same? Because surgery, like we said, it is dangerous. So are you going to run to a doctor every time your belly, protrudes or pooches out, or you have to kind of figure out a sustainable way to make sure that you're making lifestyle and habit changes to maintain your body. Because again, the hospital is, I mean, for me personally, is not a place I want to be if I don't, have to be there. And I always pray and knock on wood that, I don't have to be in a situation that takes me back. And and not until you've
Yeah.
been in so many compromising situations, or you've actually dealt with surgeries. Like even this tummy tuck, I was told the surgery would be 3 to 4 hours for that part, and then maybe an hour for the 30 minutes to an hour for the hernia. But I ended up being in surgery for 6 to 7 hours. So that's another thing. You have to remember that, stuff can happen, or like I was told,
Yeah, and think of the family waiting outside, like wondering what's
what's
going
going
on, right? It
on.
must be
Like
so
that is
scary.
really, really scary. And my husband was with me. He was there the whole time at the hospital. This was before COVID, thank God. So I was able to have him there to support me. But, think about the things that could potentially happen, and that's why you want to try to avoid that route if you can, and you're not in a position where your life is dependent on you having surgery. Fix it before. I think another thing I want to add is, when it comes to, because a tummy tuck, even if it's done for medical reasons, is still a major surgery. And so you want to make sure that you do your due diligence. If that is what you want to do, find the right doctor, because you don't want to
Yes.
just go finding any down the road meal kind of doctor to work on you in a major surgery like this. This is how people are losing their lives to these surgeries, cosmetic
Yeah.
procedures,
Oh my God, I saw some
Go ahead.
horrifying story about surgery. Yeah, no, sorry. But like, I did see
Yeah,
some
no, I
horrifying
mean,
story
people
about
are
people who tummy
people are
tuck.
dying from
Oof.
cosmetic procedures. People are really
Yes.
out here
Oh
dying
my
because
gosh.
they're not doing their due diligence. The doctor that I found
Yes.
was my hernia surgeon, that because I had two surgeons work on me that day, and I was so comfortable going in because he said to me, "I will never work on you, not even at a post-surgical facility, never in my office." He says, "I do all my surgeries at the hospital, and that is the only place I'm going to go because God forbid, if anything happens, we're out there, we have all the resources." So, having somebody like that paid attention to those things, it it made me comfortable, but it still didn't take away the fear, of just the fact that of what I was about to experience. And remember that this is a surgery that's going to take 2 to 6 months recovery, right? So it's not one of those things
Yeah,
that
that's a
in
lot.
like 30 days you're bouncing up out of the place. No, it's a long recovery process. You're seeing the doctors, and there's a lot that goes into this procedure. So as much as people think, oh, the aesthetics of what it is, it looks nice. Trust me, I had the diastasis. I looked 6 months pregnant. And even at that, I was still trying to see if there was a way out of surgery if I could, So for me, my decision boiled down to, hey, I have 3 kids here. God forbid something happens to me, who's going to take care of my kids? And that was what it boiled down to. But then again, the process I was about to go to could potentially also lead to, me not being there. I just had to take my chances, pray, put my faith in God, and just go in. And thank God I came out on the other side of it good. And that is why taking care of my body is super important to me. I don't joke about, health. And that's why even booking who I spoke to today, I only got comfortable because I know that you're also a diastasis mom and you're on the other side of the diastasis. And it was your experience that led you to now wanting to help other women come out of diastasis. So sometimes when you're lucky to have people like that, I feel more comfortable because there's more passion behind it, because they know the struggle, they know what you're going through, they speak from experience. And when you're talking to, I'm sure even your clients, they feel loads more comfortable knowing that you're not just telling them what you've read in a book, you're telling them you've been where they've been. And so for me, diastasis
Yeah.
was a really, really important topic to unpack. And I'm glad that we were able to do that today. So, can you just let the audience know where to find you, how to find you, if they need to get in contact with Becky Choi, how do they get in a hold of you to address their issues?
Yeah. Yes, 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 I would love to. So my main social platform is Instagram. So it's at Becky Choi, my full name underscore. So this is where I hang out a lot. I post a lot of educational as well as motherhood content and some of my personal content, see my kids and
Yes.
my journey as well. So like for those of you who might be interested in how I healed it, I actually have been very transparent since day one, since I had my daughter almost four
Yeah.
years ago now. So like I've been very transparent on posting my before and progressions and where I am now. So if you're interested to look at that, as well as a ton of my clients' testimonials and before and after for some inspirations. I know for a lot of moms out there, they might think that it's not possible or like it's they don't have anybody around them that have the problem. So like my page is there to inspire you, to get you to take actions and take just be a healthier, happier, and more confident
Yes.
you. So yeah, that's where I hang out a lot. You can also reach out to me on my DM. I'm there all the time. But if you do wanted to learn about how you can work with me on a more personalized, customized level, it's www.tummywarrior. So that's my company's name or brand name, Tummy Warrior, Tummy Warrior. We are the warrior. So tummywarrior.com. So that's where you can find more information about what my program is like.
Becky, thank you so much. I'm so excited and I'm so honored that you took the time out to just educate my audience on diastasis. And I know a lot of women would appreciate, just the educational content that you're putting out there. And just like she said, for those who didn't know today, at least in this little condensed version, I hope we've been able to educate you a little bit more. And please feel free to find Becky, follow her on social media. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Next week, we'll be unpacking another topic again. But until then, have a great and productive week. And I'll be back again next week with another topic on unpacking life.